Blessed be God who creates, restores, and enlivens all things.
May we live with God's peace, joy, and harmony, now and forever.
This is really a pretty unique group. The sense of community here is so strong. It's almost like a family to me, a spiritual family.
Jesus shall reign wherever the sun.
There is a vibrancy in St. Peter's that does not exist in any of the other Episcopal churches that I've visited.
We live in Mountain View, and we come up here because St. Peter's is a wonderful community. I think that if I didn't go to St. Peter's, I probably wouldn't go to church.
It's the openness of the community to new ideas and learning, and also that we're family, we're a spiritual family together.
I think that's partly why we were named one of the top 30 Episcopal congregations in the country, because it was a place that encouraged people to be themselves and to discover what that was, to find a unique identity in a spiritual community that supported that.
Come now and look upon the work.
St. Peter's intimate spiritual service, its inclusiveness and diversity of worshipers are as unique as its long history in San Francisco. Even the founding in 1867 was the result of a strong desire for their own style of choir and music. That tenacious individualism was what held the church together after the 1906 earthquake destroyed their new building, and later rallied them to rebuild St. Peter's at its present location in 1913. It is that same spiritual bond and tenacity that nurtures today's congregation as the church once again prepares for rebuilding its sanctuary, this time destroyed by the 1989 earthquake.
I look at the cracks in the church and I think of the cracks in my heart since this happened. I know that you don't need a building in which to worship God. I know that. But I can't imagine living a life without St. Peter's.
With the sanctuary destroyed and the services moved into the Collins Hall basement, St. Peter's needed a visible symbol that the church was still alive and thriving. The answer became a beautiful garden for themselves and the neighborhood.
I think the garden is a symbol of the rebirth that's happening here for so many people. The energy, the growth that's occurring.
With new determination, the church began developing proposals for rebuilding the historical English-styled church, while at the same time focusing on an even deeper foundation, their spiritual foundation.
We needed a building, but we also needed to rethink who we were in a community and what we had to offer. And that's where we began to realize that we were being called to look at who we could serve. And around that time, Opportunities Unlimited approached us to see if they could rent space from us. This is a program for developmentally disabled. It was almost like love at first sight. There was such a warmth with the clients and the interactions that they and we had together that this really felt good. And then they asked me to be on the board, and one day we were talking about one of the problems of developmentally disabled adults is housing, especially if their families can no longer take care of them or if their families aren't around.
Trying to find an area or a loving community that's going to embrace them is particularly difficult. And I believe that's what our mission is here, is to help provide an open community to serve.
Just like Jeremiah said, find the welfare of the city, and in that welfare you will find your own. And I said, that's the message to us. That will give us our identity. It will also give us the way to discover how we can make this happen for ourselves.
We have all these different organizations that come into this church family. We have many 12-step programs. We have Opportunities Unlimited. We have childcare. We have after-school programs. We are an essential part of this community. And I believe that adding the housing piece just brings it full circle.
So the housing will be on the south and the east part of the site, and will help to emphasize the courtyard that currently exists, because this is one of the more beautiful features of the property, and besides the church itself, right?
That's true, yes. And once we got clear about who we were and what we wanted, we began to see what the strengths within the parish were that could make this happen. And then we began to reach out to find out where the strengths in the community were that we could draw on. We immediately connected with Bernal Heights, who have a really good track record in housing. And they were very excited by the energy within the congregation of the vision of what we wanted to do.
Father Ricky's vision is to provide more than just a place to worship. It's our expertise in being able to develop property and being able to bring in federal, state, and local resources, being able to get local approvals in terms of planning approval, building department approvals, and then also work with the community to develop community acceptance for development such as this. It's something that we've done for almost 25 years at the Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center.
How do we provide those needs that are identified as the top needs in San Francisco? Needs of taking care of those, God bless them, who have developmental problems and affordable housing problems. And just the intersection of those two represents, for the city and county of San Francisco and for, I think, this church and for this diocese, an opportunity.
And we offer our sacrifice of praise. We are concerned about how we're going to thrive, how we're going to survive. And St. Peter's is demonstrating how you work with a community to create a space for the church and a space that the community needs. Now and forever.
We could talk about money, we could talk about demographics, we could talk about presence in the neighborhood, and a lot of other very business-like things. But one thing that we always forget to say is that the Spirit is really working in this church.
Share this bread in the presence of Christ.
If you're a person who just looks at the bottom line, you would say, how can these people accomplish this? But, we're Christians, and many things in the Christian faith have seemed impossible or very, very difficult. But because it's the right thing to do, and it's important to do it, there's a way to do it, and we are working on that, and we'll certainly find the way.
Share this bread in the presence of Christ.
I think rebuilding this church will help to grow the church itself, because it will demonstrate to the surrounding community what the Episcopal Church is and does and how it serves its fellow humans. I think it will enhance the reputation of the whole Episcopal Church and our own parish in this community.
Share this wine in the presence of Christ.
Bishop Swing said to our congregation, at some point you just have to make a leap of faith and go ahead and do it. And that is what we are now doing. We've got a working plan now. Let us make that leap.
Let us go forth in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
We realize that we are a vibrant congregation, but we're vibrant because we're Christ-centered, which means that we find our center in the presence of God. And in that presence, that energy then continues to grow and reaches out then to the world around us. When I walk into the church, as I often do, especially late in the afternoon when the sun's coming in through the arched window, there's a real excitement about how it's going to be in that space again. How it's like coming home. We've found our identity again. We've found the place that we can thrive. In a building, in a community, a real sense of this is where the light is, and this is where St. Peter's will be.